بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين جل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of family and Mahdawi Tarbiyah. This is our fifth session. We talked about challenges of Akhir Zaman, especially with respect to family life. And now we want to see what guidance we receive from our sacred sources about this important topic. One of the things that we find in teachings of Islam and in the Quran and Sunnah in particular is that a very important resource that we have, a very important backup that we have to face challenges of the Akhir Zaman is family, and the other is community. And it is not accidental that these two are also under attack in different ways. I mentioned challenges to them in modern society and as explained in our hadith. Inshallah, we will talk about these things more. So today we want to talk about necessity of having family in the center of our attention in Akhir Zaman. I'm not saying this is the only thing that it is to be in the center, but it has to be in the very, very center of our attention. I cannot emphasize more. Family life is very, very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. Surah Tahrim, verse 6. This ayah is general. It's for mu'mineen in all times. A mu'min is responsible for looking after his or her family. But when we move towards Akhir Zaman, this ayah becomes more and more applicable. Many verses of the Quran, I believe, not only they apply to people of our time and generations close to end of time, they actually apply more. This is in contrast to what we thought that verses of the Quran are for the Muslims in that time. And yes, we can see whether there are things that we can bring to our time or not. No, this is not right. What is right understanding is that, as we have explained in the book lessons on the Quran or series about Quranic sciences and understanding the Quran, that Quran is meant for all generations. Quran is not for Nas and Duna Nas. It's for all generations. And what I want to add today is that actually by the passage of time, Quran becomes more applicable. There are things that we can understand, we can benefit from the Quran that maybe were not available for Muslims 1,000 years ago. So, This ayah, which is a general ayah, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara," by the passage of time becomes more and more relevant and more applicable. Allama Tabatabai Radwanullah Ta'ala alayh, in volume 19 of Al-Mizan, page 689, explains that maybe as a kind of requirement or implication that teach yourself, family, children, khair. Teach them what is good, what is useful, and educate them in order to save yourself. So it's a matter of preparation and education and tarbiyah. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, فكونوا رحمكم الله من أحلاس بيوتكم إلى أوان ظهور أمرنا. This is in Irshad al-Qulub by Daylami, also cited by the late Allama Majlisi in Bihar al-Anwar. Ahlas, which I mentioned in the end of last session, is a term that you find in many hadiths, is the plural form for health with sin. Health, ahlas, is used for something that you put a kind of mat that you put on the floor in your room so that you, for example, sit, you eat, you pray. Sometimes it is translated in English as saddle blanket. So we find this expression commonly in our hadith. Even it is not only Shia hadith, we find that it's also in Sunni hadith. That in Akhir zaman you should be like mats in your house. What does it mean? First of all, a mat in the house is not used outside. Secondly, a mat in the house is very clean because you pray on it, you eat on it. Thirdly, which maybe is the most outstanding meaning or implication, is that don't expose yourself too much. Be at home unless there is good reason to go out. And this is not about, for example, going outside, for example, for buying something, or for example, for walking, for example, say, oh, don't go for walking as much as you can, don't go for bike. No, it means that as much as possible, prioritize working at home with family. When I say work, I don't mean necessarily job. It can be job, it can be general way of life. Means don't treat family as a secondary issue. Family is your main concern. Family is your main priority. Inshallah, we will explain more. Just at the beginning, I wanted to say this so that you know it's not misunderstood. Okay, so Amir al-Mu'minin says, فَكُونُوا رَحِمَكُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ أَحْلَاسِ بُيُوتِكُمْ إِلَىٰ أَوَانِ ظُهُورِ أَمْرٍ. May Allah have mercy be upon you. Be some of the mats of your home up to the time of ظهور أمرنا, appearance of our affair, the appearance of Imam Zaman and Wilayah of Imam. So Amir al-Mu'minin is trying to save the Shia from getting involved in things which are not either good, or even if they are good, they are not priority. One of the tasks of a leader is to save energy of his community. Give them tasks. Sometimes they need some exercise, even if something is not necessary. Sometimes for exercise, they need to undertake tasks and finish it, and learn and add to their ties, etc. But that is in a controlled way. Don't put all your energy in something which is not priority. A leader has to say. I mean, the Muni is aware that in future, sometimes Shia are going to be involved in some movement, in some uprisings that might not be the best. In the series on history of Shia Islam, we saw that sometimes Shia did things that they didn't receive the instruction from Imams alayhi salam, and they thought it's a good cause, and then it was not successful, or was not, completely successful. Sometimes maybe just changed one time, for example, helped in changing Umayyad to Abbasids. I'm not saying only Shia did this, but in Shia community, we don't want to have even one case of this. Alhamdulillah, overall, the Shia community didn't get involved in bad things or in things which were, obviously bad, but just in prioritizing, sometimes they didn't listen or get advice from Ahlul Bayt. And some Shia were involved in things that were not very productive for long-term success. In any case, Amir al-Mu'minin says, remember, in my words, remember this as a guideline. فكونوا رحمكم الله من أحلاص بيوتكم إلى أوان ظهور أمرنا. This should be your general guideline. If something becomes obvious, if qualified leaders say that we should do this or that, that's fine. But we have to be very careful not to easily get involved in a socio-political movement and forget our family, forget our community, forget our own self-building. Till inshallah we see the signs of zuhur, since our work would be preparation for zuhur and after zuhur. That is what we can understand from this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also said in a hadith that we have it in Basa'il al-Shia, in Bihar al-Anwar, in Al-Ghayba by Sheikh al-Nu'mani, كفوا ألسنتكم والزموا بيوتكم. Keep your tongue. Don't be too vocal, especially when it comes to current affairs. Use your tongue for something which is obviously good, something which is, helpful for moving humanity towards values, towards unity. But if you want to get into socio-political things which are normally divisive, you have to be very careful. كفوا ألسنتكم. The principle is not to talk unless it's hujjah. And hujjah is not, what comes to your mind as a person. Hujjah has to be something that is available, first of all, for collective assessment. What is your reason? You feel like this? You say, I feel. This feeling is not hujjah. Something that you can say, this is my reasoning. And then it has to be approved. It's not that every individual speaks and says, I'm expressing myself. No, you are somehow, whether you like it or not, speaking as someone that is counted as a Shia, as a Muslim, as a believer in God. So you have to be very careful. No one is saying this is the idea of this person. They will associate you with your faith, your mazhab, your community. You have to be very careful. So don't speak unless it is proved, it is backed up by hujjah, rational means that this is what you should say. I'm not saying not to fulfill your social responsibilities, but I'm saying don't rush. Don't also just keep silent. No, sometimes you have to speak. So you have to be always struggling to understand what Allah wants you to say or not to say. So one thing is kuffu al-sinatakum. The second is walzamu buyutakum. Imam Sadiq says you should be committed to your homes. You should be staying in home, not only physically, but in your planning. Stay in your mind also in home. In the sense that home should be the center of your planning, center of your attention, center of your priority. Home is where your pleasure should be reaching the maximum, either your home or home of your relatives or mu'mineen, or masjid, which is house of Allah, community centers, which are places that we remember Allah. These are the places that we get maximum energy from, maximum pleasure from. So, إلزموا بيوتكم. Imam Jawad alayhi salam also is quoted as saying, and this hadith is actually available in Al-Hawi al-Fatawa by Suyuti and also Ayatollah Sadiq al-Bayrani Muntakhab al-Asar. But maybe the earliest source that we have is Al-Kafi by Sheikh Kulayb Volume 2. وَقَبْلَ ذَلِكَ فِتْنَةُ شَرٍّ. Before coming of Imam Mahdi, there would be a very bad, severe fitna. I explained the meaning of fitna in one of the lectures in this series. Look at the intensity of the problem. يُمْسِ الرَّجُلُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُصْبِحُ كَافِرًا. Sometimes the person ends the day with Iman, wakes up without Iman, or starts the next day without Iman. Means overnight has lost Iman. Or وَيُصْبِحُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. Yeah, the other option is in the morning is mu'min, by the night is kafir. It means that generally speaking, you lose Iman, God forbids, gradually, little by little. ثم كان عاقبة الذين أساءوا السوء أن كذبوا بآيات الله وكانوا بها يستهزئون. If someone keeps doing bad things, then gradually it would lead to denial of divine's communication, divine verses. But in Akhir Zaman, this can happen very fast. It can happen over a day or over a night. Not to commit a sin only, to lose Iman altogether. Sometimes one conversation, sometimes one encounter, sometimes one, I don't know, clip, one meeting can stop you from being mu'min. So we have to be very careful. يُمْسِ الرَّجُلُ. So first of all, as I said, Imam says, وَقَبْلَ ذَلِكَ فِتْنَةُ شَرٍّ يُمْسِ الرَّجُلُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُصْبِحُ كَافِرًا وَيُصْبِحُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا فَمَنْ أَدْرَكَ ذَلِكَ الزَّمَانِ. Whoever witnesses that time, فَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهِ. Must have taqwa. Taqwa is a great protection, great support, great immunity. وَلْيَكُنْ أَحْلَاسَ بَيْتِهِ. And should be one of the mats of his home. It means that we would be safer in family and we need to keep our family safe so that we can be safe outside. Like, for example, an army, they need to keep the command room very protected. That would be the safest place because if the command room is damaged, all the troops will be losing guidance and support. They will be finished. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, again, this hadith, we have another hadith from Imam Sadiq, this again from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. فإذا كان ذلك فالزموا أحلاس بيوتكم حتى يظهر الطاهر ابن الطاهر المطهر ذو الطيب. When that time comes, be mat of your houses till the pure, the son of the pure and purified reappeared, the one who has Taiba occultation. Imam Ali alayhi salam also says, وَاتَّخِذُوا صَوَامِعَكُمْ بُيُوتَكُمْ وَعَضُّوا عَلَى مِثْلِ جَمَرِ الْقَضَى وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. In the time of Ghaibah, turn your houses into sawami', like monasteries, places for ibadah, for reflection, for dhikr, full of light. You know, one of the things that we have in our hadith, I mentioned in the series of the Quran, is that although we should do our wajibat in masjid as much as possible, or community center, you know, do salatul jama'ah, we have to have lots of things together, dua, azah, etc., celebrations, lots of things together. But at the same time, لا تعتلوا بيوتكم. You should not do every ibadah outside. No. Home is a shrine. And in shrine, you need to do ibadah. The best thing to keep charging this shrine with light is ibadah. But ibadah is dhikr, ibadah is salat, is recitation of Quran. Ibadah is the time that you spend with family, looking at each other with love. Even eating together in family for the sake of love, for the sake of Allah, it's ibadah. Cooking, washing, cleaning, it's ibadah. If you wash masjid, it's ibadah. If you wash your home, it's also ibadah. If you have this mentality about home. Masjid is our common home, and we have individual homes, but all are connected and connecting us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, وَاتَّخِذُوا صَوَامِعَكُمْ بُيُوتَكُمْ. Choose as your monastery, as place of worship, your home. The advice that we have is that we do wajibat in masjid and we do nawafil at home. So anything which is matter of mustahab, like recitation, like salat, many things we can do at home. Without, of course, undermining our masajid or our community centers. As I said, we do salatul jama'ah there every day, a few times. We do azah, we do dua, etc. But at home also. Not one or the other, no, both. And then Amirul Mu'mineen advises about being careful about your tongue and then remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in abundance. Now, two things may come to mind. One may say, okay, now I understood from these many hadiths, which are not the only ones, but just some of the hadiths, that from now on I need to only work for my family. I should not get into anything outside or not do any socio-political thing at all. No, Islam doesn't advise us to isolate ourselves. Islam doesn't, in general, maybe for someone is at some point it's necessary even to isolate himself. But in general, large scale, mu'mineen should be active in society. Otherwise, the society will be left for those who have no iman. We need to be active. But the thing is that we need to prioritize our families, our homes, then our community, and then do those things which are not confrontational as much as possible. Things which are not divisive, things which don't mean that you have to take a stance against some other people. For those kind of things, you have to be very careful. You need guidance from reliable, wise, learned, spiritual leaders. So I can say there are three levels. Working at home, always. Doing something good, like charity work, educational work, etc., which would not be divisive. Outside home, when doesn't lead to compromise about home, that is also good. But if you want to get into something that would put you or your community under risk and attack because it is confrontational, you have to be very, very careful. So we don't understand from this hadith that we have to abandon altogether all social work. No, this is not Islamic understanding. Allama Majlisi Ridwanullah Ta'ala alayhi, he says, to be أحلاس البيوت لعله كناية عن التواضع وعدم التشهر في الناس. He says maybe it means that you should be humble and don't become famous, don't expose yourself too much. You know, keep low profile, generally speaking. This is what Allah Majlisi says. About significance of family and community, we have lots of things that support our understanding of ahlas. For example, Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, "Tazawaru fi buyutikum." This is very much connected to the idea of social wilaya. All these are well connected to each other. These are, different pieces of the same puzzle. Tazawaru fi buyutikum. If I keep my home a blessed place, you keep your home blessed place, then when we visit each other, we have family relations, we connect these blessed places and they become more blessed. This is amazing. As we said about barakah in working together, هل من معين فأطيل معه العبيد والبقاء. We have explained this. So 1 plus 1 is not 2 always. When a moment is working separately, another moment working separately, when they work together, it's not just 1 plus 1. When they work together, 1 plus 1 becomes maybe 4, maybe 20, maybe 100. Barakah is there. Also, one house is a house of faith, another house of faith. When they are connected, it's not just 1 plus 1. تَظَاهَرُوا فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ I don't know how Imam Baqir could emphasize more. It's very powerful. Imam says, visit each other's home. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ حَيَاةٌ لَأَمْرِنَا. This is the life of our affair. Amir al-Mu'minin said, Awan zuhur amrina. This amr is very much repeated in our hadith, which I can, you know, summarize as wilaya, especially wilaya which will inshallah manifest in coming of Imam Zaman and his governance. So Imam Baqir says, your mutual visitation, your tazawur is hayatun la amrana. It's the life of our affair. If you don't connect with each other, this affair is going to die. Rahimallahu abdan ahya amrana. May Allah have mercy upon the servant who revives our affair. By what? By different things. One of them is this visitation. I have another hadith to share with you. It's not in the book, but I found it in another book, especially for our cultural learning circle brothers and sisters that know the significance of mubahatha. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Abligh mawalina salam. Say our salam to our Shia. وَأَوْصِهِمْ بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ, and advise them to have taqwa. And then goes on, and then Imam says, وَأَنْ يَتَلَاقَوْا فِي بُيُوتِهِمْ, to meet each other in their homes. وَلِيَتَفَاوَضُوا عِلْمَ الدِّينِ, and they should discuss science of religion. So when you, all mu'mineen and both are learning circle brothers and sisters, when you do mubahasa, it's not just part of our learning process. It's to respect the advice of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and other imams, that they expect us, especially in this time, to do these things as a revival of their affair. Imam says, وَأَنْ يَتَلَاقَوْا فِي بُيُوتِهِمْ وَلِيَتَفَاوَضُوا عِلْمَ الدِّينِ فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ حَيَاةٌ لَأَمْرِنَا. Very close to what we had from Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Rahimallahu abdan ahya amra. This is the life of our affair. May Allah have mercy upon the servant who revives our affair. You visit each other's home, you do mubahasa, but don't underestimate this. This is ihya'u amr Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. And then look at this amazing. All these hadiths are amazing, you know. It's like you go to a garden, you see this flower, it's beautiful. You look at the other, it's very beautiful. You cannot say which one is more beautiful. They're all very beautiful. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith which is quoted by Daylami in Irshad al-Qulub and Allah Majlis in Bihar al-Anwar, he says, لا تعلموا العلم لتماروا به السفهاء وتجادلوا به العلماء وَلِتَصْرِفُوا وُجُوهَ النَّاسِ إِلَيْكُمْ. Don't seek knowledge in order to discuss and argue, keep arguing with sufaha, those who are not very rational, or to argue with ulama, or to attract people's faces toward yourself. Seeking knowledge should not be for bad intentions. وَابْتَغُوا بِقَوْلِكُمْ مَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. With your words, with your knowledge that you learn and share, you can seek and you wabtagu, you should seek what is in Allah. When I can seek something near Allah, why I should be spending my time in doing things for the sake of worldly gain? فَإِنَّهُ يَدُومُ وَيَبْقَى وَيَنْفَدُ مَا سِوَاهُ. What is عند Allah, as the Quran says, وَمَا عند اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Here, Rasulullah says, فَإِنَّهُ يَدُومُ وَيَبْقَى وَيَنْفَدُ مَا سِوَاهُ. Whatever is with Allah remains, endures. Everything else is going to finish, expire. كُونُوا يَنَابِيعَ الْحِكْمَةِ. Be springs of wisdom. مَصَابِيحَ الْهُدَى. Lanterns of guidance. أَحْلَاسَ الْبُيُوتِ. Be mats of homes. سُرُجَ اللَّيْلِ. Lights of the night. جُدُدَ الْقُلُوبِ. Your heart must be new, fresh. When it comes to your clothes, خُلْقَانَ الثِّيَابِ. You shouldn't have the best of clothes. Yes, clean, not something looked down upon you, but it can be old and clean. Yeah, you can keep using if you use something with good, care for years. So you don't need to have always new clothes, but new heart. تعرفون في أهل السماء وتخفون في أهل الأرض. You should be known to the people of heaven and be concealed among people of earth. What does it mean? It means don't go for fame first. Secondly, as much as possible, keep low profile. Yes, sometimes maybe you need, to be known, for example, inside community, or sometimes even outside community, some people need to be known to be acting as bridges, etc. But our main principle is to concentrate on our internal affairs and don't draw unnecessary attention to yourself or your community. If you bring attention, it should be in the form of proper introduction, educating people about us so that they don't think negatively, to do some collaboration, etc. But just to bring attention to yourself or to your community without having any particular aim, no. So, this hadith from Rasulullah emphasizes on several things. It needs one lecture. But briefly, learning has to be center of our attention. This learning should be collective. This learning should be aiming at wisdom, not just theory. Wisdom has to be practical in nature. Our heart, so spirituality is very important, our heart should be fresh. Meaning it has life, it has vitality, it's not weakened or damaged by wrong ideas or vicious traits of character, etc. Commitment to home, ahlas, and keeping low profile unless there is good reason to be otherwise. So we need to be very careful and alert in Akhir al-Zaman. We should have our own plans. We should not take any risk. We should not just go by what the current is. We should not go by just what media says or by what technology offers. We need to have our plans fixed and checked and implemented. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in understanding the challenges and also great opportunities of this time and benefit from every opportunity for making ourselves and our families, our community, and the whole humanity, inshallah, closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give shifa to all people who are ill, to give hajat of all mu'min and mu'minat, and to send rahmah and maghfirah to all mu'min and mu'minat who have passed away. We ask Allah to bless our parents and co-parents and teachers and whoever has any right upon us. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.